For those that haven't been on this patch before, what we're doing is here David's got two patches. The 10-ton patch is the one next door in the sun musket, but these are the sultanas that he's been minimally pruning. These have not been hand pruned for 4 seasons now?
Yeah, 4 years now.
So these are all mechanically pruned, no hand pruning whatsoever in here, so keen for everybody to have a bit of a look. So Dave, if you want to give us a run through on this, where you're at and what you got.
So yeah, sultanas. These would have been planted mid-90s. Crops were going backwards. Basically, I could average 2 tonne to the acre, or up and down around there if I was lucky. So, and every time you were trying to prune them, I'd want to drive out, get to the other end, and turn around with a bulldozer and want to drive down the row again. So yeah, 4 years ago, I gave up, and I basically just hedged them with my big rotary topper, and just swung them over in pruning time and just cut the bottom off, and then just run the hedger down beside the cord on the other side. So, and the first year it went from that to grew 4 tonne to the acre. So, and it's been around the 3 tonne to the acre mark since. So, and I'm trying to get out of the block, so we thought it wasn't worth our time to pull these out and start again to replant them. So I think it does, but the crop has been looser. There's more tight bunches this year than other years, so which was a beneficial of minimal pruning, I suppose. But anyway, it becomes clumpy and patchy, which it probably always has been anyway. Like you look down and there's be a decent amount of fruit, and then you've got a bare window and decent amount of fruit. But I don't think it's much different than what it was before anyway, it's just there's more fruit. One thing I will say is I've been trying to learn how to drive these since I planted them in the mid-90s, and I was always scared of putting too much fertiliser on sultanas, and so I was really hesitant to put much on, especially nitrogens and stuff, and so I used to try and control the vigour with limited the amount of fertiliser and be careful with water and everything else. But since I've had the sun musket patch next door, and we're trying to grow, you're always trying to grow as many tonnes to the acre as you can, and so everything just gets treated the same now, and I apply heaps more fertiliser now than what I used to, and they're still a super vigorous vine, but they're no more vigorous than what they were when I was trying to limit the amount of fertiliser I was applying them. And so the vigour's still there, but the crops are actually increased, and so the extra fertiliser hasn't made them any worse to manage. They're still there, still very vigorous, and they need to be topped all the time and whatever else. But so I don't think I haven't lost anything by putting more fertiliser on. I think I'm getting more crop, and if the weather turns bad, they're going to do their normal thing of split, as sultanas do anyway. So fertiliser hasn't changed that issue, I don't think.
So the bottom line is these have gone from, what do we do with them? We might be about to pull them out, so I'll just mechanically prune them, to, hang on, 4 years later, that system, which is cheaper, easier to operate, is still functioning, and might even continue to function if you're going to keep going with it, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there's no way I'm not going to change it. So
you don't go through and do anything by hand, like tidying them up, getting the bits here and there?
No.
Actually, and obviously you do quite a good job of spraying out your crowns.
These aren't really, the sultanas aren't too bad at crowns. My crown bunch spray failed this year, but you will find patches where there'll be decent bunches, but there's been limited amount of bunches up in the sultanas. In the sun musket over here, there's more.
Which is a sultana. The older sultanas are better for crown, not having the crown bunches compared to the
other
ones.
But basically, because in all of my property, I've got the extra foliage wires in there. So if you've got the extra foliage wires, I would say if you've got sultanas, you need to pin the canes down, because otherwise you just end up with that bigger canopy growing down over your fruiting side. So all these replacement canes have all been pinned down already. So I did that as soon as the canes were long enough this year. That was prior to trying to spray the cordon bunches out. which was much easier to pin down. So the canes for next harvest or next season are already pinned down. So basically, once you pull it all out after harvest in this coming winter time, you just tip the whole lot over and run the topper along underneath, and then run the beside. Before I tip it over, I run the topper beside the cordon. Then you tip it over and you run the topper along the top of the cordon.
So the new device that we're playing with,
it would be perfect.
David, would you do this with your son, Oscar?
If I was staying here, I probably would.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm trying to, even though I'm still hand doing it at this point, I'm trying to not be as super fussy. I don't think we need to have super back to basal buds and all that crap. I think you can have some little spurs, and I think it's a benefit to have some little knobs there.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if you've got a knobbly that's spaced out, and that's where your cane comes from every year, doesn't matter.
yeah. As long as you can still swing it over, that's the issue, really, isn't it?
With doing this, I was worried about the size of some of the canes because you'll have a 2-year-old cane that's this long, that's grown canes from the end of it. You pull it down, but even the light little cutter bar that I've got, I can stall it at times, but it'll cut to 2- and 3-year-old wood.
Yep.
And the beneficial thing is, if you cut it off, you tend to get new shoots out of there for the following season anyway. So at places there's a huge amount of canes anyway.
Yeah. This system has been used for wine grapes for a number of years. The whole idea of this is that as this harvester is travelling down the road, there's a GPS unit on the harvester, there'll also be one on the tractor, and there's a load cell. I think John will point it out, but I think it's mounted in here now.
Yeah, mounted in there, and the actual pieces on this end, on that end of the load cell, is the actual scale.
Yeah, so essentially what it's doing is taking weights off that belt. We did have a bit of an issue. We were keen to put it on the other harvester in the Tonne Project at Stephen Malcolm's, but it's belts with chains, and because that creates extra weight, it gets it outside the scope of the load cell. So this one hasn't got the extra weight in the chains on the belt. So Luke and John were looking at this anyway, so they've stuck it on their machine, which the delivery system's exactly the same as this one. So Vernon, who's the guy that put it on and managed it for us, stuck it on there, and he was over here 2 weeks ago and put this one on here. So what we're hoping to see is that we can start to pick yield differences as you move down the road and from road to road. So this will be best as comparative. It won't be best for saying this block is 10% better than another block. It's more about just comparative sort of stuff. So the whole idea here is that if this starts to tell us information by which we can manage that vineyard a bit better, that will be the issue. Won't be so much can we get the yield stuff out of it. The question will be, can this tell us something that's going to get us better information about managing this block? Are there things that we need to do differently? So it's just been installed here. John's going to run it. We'll get it hopefully on this 10-tonne site and that 10-tonne site. And if we can organise any more, we'll try and do it as well. We'll just see how we go. So John's got a little bit of mucking around to do to fit it to that pack of that tractor, but certainly that will work. And we're pretty confident that it's all up and running. This is the mechanical pruner. So the way we're now set up, this is essentially now fully copied. What's different? It's basically the system that Tony Martin had set up. So this essentially rotates that way as you're moving forward. It's tried it the other way, didn't work as well. At the minute, this is only mild steel. Concept with this is though you can take these plates off. You can work on home, that sort of stuff. So it's just in and out in a hydraulic motor and a dump back to the gift, that's the word, thank you. Now, the structure, yes, it is all prototyping stuff. So it's all lightweight so that we can move stuff and deal with it in the field. you know, this seems to be strong enough. This isn't. This has got to go up to another level in a final production version. So what we've got here, this is the drive. This is the controller for this in and out. So this moves like that. I think we've now got this going fast enough. At the moment, this works on a Bluetooth. So there's a phone I've got that you can actually do this in and out. It's not linked yet to the major guts of it, which is up here, which is the tricky bit. Now, unfortunately, when Rob was up here last, he popped up in early December as we were driving the tractor down. One of these bits of wire fell down and went under there, and his LiDAR camera went with it.
Who was the driver?
That was me. Anyway, so Rob has bought a new LiDAR, which is better, and we've set that up, and I'll show you. You can have a look at the video of this operating. What we were just aiming to do is make sure we can get a reasonable picture. So that's LiDAR. This simply a webcam. Probably will work better, more resilient with a reversing camera, sort of that. So that's just to give us a decent picture. So both of these will pick up that bottom corner. The idea is now Rob's got to do the algorithm and connect this to this. So this is now reading ahead and moving this in and out to work with the vine. So I'm confident now that this is solid enough and works well enough. On this tractor, it's probably not got a really big hydraulic output on it. Put it on either a power pack or something with a bigger hydraulic output, and that thing will cut through anything.